Moments of inspiration mixed with time to network, IBJ Media Events has you covered. From industry deep dives to awards celebrating Indiana's top leaders, see what's coming up and reserve your seat at ibj.com/RSVP. Do you want to mix moments of inspiration with time to network? IBJ Media Events has you covered. From industry deep dives to awards celebrations honoring Indiana's top leaders, see what's coming up and reserve your seat now at ibj.com/register.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Thursday, August 28th, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. In December 2024, Great Crescent Brewery in the Dearborn County city of Aurora closed its doors, though its owner had hoped to find a buyer to keep the brand alive. That hope has now become reality. Holtkamp Winery and Vineyards in nearby Sunman has acquired the assets of Great Crescent and plans to resume production in the coming months.
I loved his beers. I loved his passion for the beers. And lately, we've been growing like crazy. There's obviously a beer market out there, and it was, for the lack of a better term, it was a no-brainer.
Owner Doug Holtkamp says a new production facility on the Holtkamp Winery property is now under construction. He hopes to start production by the end of the year. Amazon this week opened a 171,000 square foot delivery station in Elkhart, one of two major projects the online retail giant has underway in Elkhart County. The facility serves as a hub between neighboring fulfillment and sortation centers and delivery vehicles, and also employs more than 250 workers. Forbes is out with its 7th annual list of America's best employers by state, and 75 companies are ranked among the best in Indiana. The University of Notre Dame is ranked number 1 in the state, up 1 spot from last year. You can view the full list at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. From the number 1 source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
The state body that oversees police certification is now considering whether Du Bois County Sheriff Tom Kleinhelter should be stripped of his law enforcement credentials. IIB's Mark Mazurek has more.
The Indiana Law Enforcement Training Board's decertification subcommittee was asked last week to review the case following a request from the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy and its executive director, Tim Horty. The request follows a months-long Indiana State Police investigation into allegations of misconduct by Kleinhelter. Although a special prosecutor ultimately decided not to charge him, the training board voted August 18th to move forward with the charges of fraud, perjury, false informing, and criminal misconduct. The board pointed to 2 separate allegations of fraud in the charging document. In one instance, Kleinhelter was accused of purchasing employee gifts and directing the jail matron to falsely list the expenses as, quote, training in commissary records. The sheriff is also alleged to have reimbursed the jail commissary with more than $16,000 following a state audit, but then he apparently tried to recoup that money by filing a reimbursement request with the county auditor that falsely listed another state employee's name to suggest its approval. The Law Enforcement Training Board also says Kleinhelter committed perjury, alleging that the sheriff signed a nepotism compliance form months after he approved his wife as a special deputy. I'm Mark Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
The online schools that partner with a small rural Indiana district targeted for closure by lawmakers have found a new district partner. The Indiana Digital Learning School and the Indiana Digital Alternative School will add Beech Grove schools as their second district partner, while the Union School Corporation continues a legal battle against the state and Governor Mike Braun to stop the forced closure of the district in 2027. If Union Schools loses its legal fight, it will close its brick-and-mortar campuses that serve around 292 students as of 2025. Liz Sliger, executive director for the 2 virtual schools, says one possibility is that they will transfer to Beech Grove. The streets of downtown Columbus are filled with vibrant colors and new interactive art installations, all part of the 5th cycle of Exhibit Columbus. 13 installations have been created by architects and designers from around the globe and combined to create a free, walkable public art exhibition. Aaron Hawkins is director of strategic partnerships and communications for the Columbus Area Visitor Center.
Many of them are are in direct response to some of Columbus's significant architectural sites. So it's really interesting to see how the designers were inspired by those sites and engaged with the community to hear about how the community uses the space or how they would like to use the space.
The large-scale installations will be on display through November 30th. PNC Bank executive Jason Eckerly is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
From broadcast to podcast, Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is now available anytime on YouTube or in your podcast feed. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcast or at ibjpodcast.com.
Your commute just got smarter. Turn drive time into growth time. The IBJ Media Podcast Network gives you front row access to leaders shaping Indiana's economy, culture, and future. No filler, just smart, relevant, local storytelling you won't get anywhere else. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.